Biodiversity Conservation Foundation is an NGO based on Tamil Nadu with the vision to visualize a society for promoting and assisting in healthy coexistence of human and wildlife and ultimately ensuring conservation of biodiversity. Strategic implementation of this mission drove us to handle research and reaching stakeholders in a very synchronized manner. Our research extends from ants to elephants and exploring effective management practices in the perspective of biodiversity conservation. With our wide research team, we were able to work from Nagapatnam to Valley of Flowers, stretching across different landscapes and different people with varied dependency on the ecosystem. In a nutshell, we connect nature with people and people with nature. So let's get connected today also in the virtual platform to experience nature in an enhanced dimension.
A warm good evening to all of you, and then thank you, Dr. Kumaraguru sir, for giving me the opportunity to interact on the great occasion of International Elephant Day. I am Dr. Arun, and then working with an organization called Wildlife SOS. Is a non-governmental organization based out of Delhi, and we deal with a lot of rescue and rehabilitation of animals. We also involve in a lot of research activities, and we involve in elephant conflict mitigation programs also in 2-3 states. Especially, we help our complete veterinary support to Tamil Nadu Forest Department, where I'm currently working in Panarghatta. The closed, it's a border area of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. So we used to go and then help the Forest Department in Hosur and Dharmapuri district. And we are currently running a radio collaring project in Chhattisgarh. That's up in north. So we are involved in rescue and rehabilitation of all these distressed animals, as well as helping the conflict situation wherever the forest department is requesting our help. Because as you all know that wildlife belongs to the government. So my current title is Perspective and Challenges in Asian Elephant Conservation. I'm going to thank Dr. Ajay Desai. He is like an elephant mentor for me, and then he's a consultant for several other organizations apart from WWF. And Dr. R.K. Singh, he's a former PCC of Chhattisgarh. He is also a very key player in conflict mitigation, especially with respect to elephants in Chhattisgarh. And Sri B.K. Singh, sir, former PCC of Karnataka, and then Sri Kishan Kumar Bishen, sir, IFS CC of Chhattisgarh. He is also a former Chhattisgarh CCF. And my vet mentors, Dr. M.G. Jayatangraj, and I really want to acknowledge the State Forest Department of Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Karnataka. And our co-founders, Wildlife SOS, Mr. Karthik Satyanarayan and Ms. Geeta Seshamani. And Mr. Swaminathan is our senior biologist. He is a very key player in all the biological, biology-based activities in our organization. And Dr. Kalaivanan and Dr. Prakash also in the field, wildlife veterinarians who always work closely with us in terms of elephant conflict and rescue mitigation operations. So I am actually structured this presentation with a little bit of basic physical features and other their normal activities, what kind of challenges this Asian elephant conservation possess. And me basically being a veterinarian, wildlife veterinarian, that my perspectives will always have some kind of different angle from the normal conservationist. And I honestly tell you that whatever is my past 15 to 20 years of experience only I'm going to tell here. As you all know that we are not policy makers. But at the same time, we can definitely talk about success stories and then what kind of challenges the animals are facing. With this all growing conflicts of maximum of wildlife in the country, be it in tiger or leopard or bears, and even gores, even monkeys. So several animals are into this kind of conflict issues in the current scenario. And we all know that that's primarily motivated because of growing population of human being. And sometimes back, people were discussing seriously that how can we reduce the population of wild elephants. So I felt ashamed that when we are not having any control over our own population, and we are talking about controlling the elephant population in the wild. So these things have to be, seriously looked into, because we have all the rights, and we always think that the landscape or even the entire earth or even Indian forest lands are also for people. So it is not like that. So as we always talk to kids, we reiterate that the world is for everyone, and it's like common to everyone. So we have to give that respect to each and every life of the planet. So that includes elephants. So here, anyway, I'm going to give you some kind of knowledge-based information, and then most of them were took out from the published information. It's not only from me or from my team, so it's again a collective information, and I thought it will be a good occasion to meet all of you and then convey whatever we feel like and whatever is our level of understanding in the problem of challenging and perspectives of Asian elephant conservation. So here, it's a simple physical feature, and we usually say on the right side cartoon, you can see that if a man with vision impairment, he will understand the trunk is something else, and man with vision impairment holds a leg will narrate the leg as something else. So that's what. Sometimes if you want to really understand the species as a whole, then it has to be a holistic approach. So you can't just check the tail and then imagine it is a furry mouse. Okay, so I just wanted to put this image to make everybody aware that it can't be a narrow-minded approach, or whatever is your perception has to be the truth for the elephant world. So we have to expand our horizon of understanding of this Asian elephant, and then we have to view a lot of last 2-3 decades progress. I mean, whether they are into a kind of constant trouble, and then landscape pattern or land use pattern, and then a landscape based management. So those are the point I really wanted to insist here. So those who are really new to the elephant, I just wanted to put some of the information, like the tallest point of the head in terms of Asian elephant is the highest point of the body. Whereas in African elephant, it is the shoulder. Okay, and then we both the elephants mutually share a lot of features like trunk, and then legs, and then body weight, gestation, all those stuff. So as we all know that the Asian elephants are size-wise smaller than African counterpart, but they also weigh around 3 to 7 tons. And the major difference between that is the nail in both the legs. Asian has got 5 nails in the forefoot, and then the 4 in the hind foot, whereas 1 less in both fore and hind in terms of African elephant nails are concerned. And the trunk has got 1 finger in Asian elephant, our elephant, and then African has got 2. And as you know, again, the trunk has got the ability to even pick up a needle from the ground. So they're very sensitive organ, and as we all know, again, trunk has got no bones. It's all muscles. It was noted as more than 40,000 muscles are there in the elephant trunk, and they were very, very special animal. And as you know that they have a big brain as well as their intelligence. So these are common stuffs I really want to share to begin with, because it's like a biodata of an elephant, that we should know what is the body weight, and what is the height, and then what is the contribution in the ecology. Like they are the forest creators, as we all know that they are the walking bulldozers of the forest. So they make path, and then even in summer, if they are able to find a location where they can dig a small pit and then consume water, and every other small mammals in the jungle knows that is my boss, and then if he walks and then if he finds food and water, then I can definitely find something for me. So for my existence also, they need elephant. So that way it's a kind of cycle. I mean, when we talk about the ecology, people may not understand properly, and I mean, I'm going to talk to you all like kids, that the ecology is something like a vehicle, that if you have all the vehicles, or even a body. So if you are taking your human body, every organs in the body plays a major role. So if you think kidney is only important, if the kidney is available, then you can make a body. It is not possible. And if the heart is available, though everybody knows heart is a very important part of the body, if I give you 100 hearts, can you make 100 human beings? It's not possible. So that way you should understand. And if any mechanical engineers are here in this forum, then I can take a example of a vehicle. So if you have a carburetor separately, even in functional condition, you can't call it as a vehicle. If you have a engine of the vehicle fully functional, kept neatly at your Almera, can you call it as a vehicle? Or can this serve as a vehicle? No. So that way, individually, if we can see everything separately, but really acting good, or in a very good position, I mean, according to our perspective, or according to our understanding, that yes, I am having a functional, brand new, working, and highly efficient engine in my draw. So do you think that can run a vehicle? No, as long as it is fitted in a vehicle, it is of no use. So that way, you have to make sure that the ecosystem has to be maintained as a whole, like a vehicle or like a body. And if you think, okay, the tire is also circular in position or circular in shape, and the steering wheel of a vehicle is also circular in nature, you can't just exchange between these two. A vehicle tire can't serve as a direction making equipment of your vehicle. At the same time, you can't put a steering wheel in the actual wheel expecting the vehicle to run. So it's a very simple fact we used to discuss, that the ecosystem as a whole has to be managed with respect to their respective place and position. Only then you will expect a good result. So otherwise, if you think, okay, if I am conserving tiger to the maximum extent, to the core, and you expect all the animal to be happy or be conserved in the nature, it's not possible. We know that it's an apex predator, and that has got a different food web and food chain aspect. But now we are in a different era. Every single species has got a different challenges. Elephant has got a different challenge with people and with the landscape, and tiger has got a different challenge with the people and with the landscape. And sloth bear, or even any bear species, at least in our country, has got a different problem, different landscape issues. Habitat, if you talk about the habitat, everyone's habitat, every species habitat is deteriorating, defragmenting. It is getting into a lot of pressure. And if you can come to the bottom of this all discussion, according to me, is only human being. The problem is the human being. And the second problem is the population. So we don't have control over these two things. And we expect everything should be near normal or a new normal. I think in COVID situation, we should talk about new normal. So I feel this is a little bit ambitious for us, that we are expecting no conflict, and we want to lead a happy life, and there is no scope to extend the planet's size. On top of it, we will not stop exploiting the nature. So I don't see all these things will go together, and it will be a win-win at any point of time. So we have to really evolve with these species and then try to accommodate these species with minimal conflict. So that is what I think I'm going to talk about in this presentation, with all our team members' opinion and the perspectives of the Asian elephant conservation. And as we all know, that 98% of the elephants have gone. In 100 years ago, there were 1 million elephants in India. So I think now everyone has got Google as their primary teacher. So you can just discuss with your teacher later and find out, is it really a 1 million elephant in India 100 years ago? And now 98% of the loss happened in last 10 decades. Over 50% of the wild elephants in India, approximately 27,000 are Asian elephants. I mean, in India. I'll show you the map in the next few slides. And the current population of wild elephants are around 27,000, and in captivity we have over 2,500 elephants. And as you all know, that Asian elephants are brought under the endangered category by IUCN. So this is the map, which I have got it from another internet source, and but reliable. And in India, we have 23 to 32,000 elephants, wild. We're talking about all wild. And then Myanmar has got 4 to 5, and Thailand 2,500 to 3,200, and Sri Lanka 2,500 to 4,000, and Sumatra 2,400 to 3,400, and Sabah, Malaysia, and then Peninsular Malaysia. So put together, you can see we have 45,000 to 50,000, and the major population is in India. So we have all sorts of responsibilities, and then I think we have got the gold mine of elephant conservation program that if we are not doing, I don't think any other Asian countries can achieve this. So I think we all should put our effort together and then try to match all these scientific evidence-based conservation methods, and also sometimes it is region-wise, because as I was in the beginning telling you about the conservation strategies may not be a single solution or single strategy for every state. So it varies. So that is why in this whole presentation, I would really like to discuss about the landscape-wise conservation management of Asian elephants. So a little bit about their diet and nutrition, because it revolves around that only. So when we are talking about conflict or even conservation, it's only the wild animals in general want to perish just to eat and breed. That's all. This is their primary role in the nature. And then during these two major key activities, there will be a lot of other benefits we are deriving out of it, and so many other animals deriving out of it, and as a whole the ecosystem deriving out of it. So but their mind has got only these two steps. One is feeding and breeding. So feeding, when we are talking about feeding, I think all the biologists knows that how many species these elephants are depending in the nature. It's all evidence based, and then those were already researched to the core, and every elephant ecologist and biologist and conservationist knows that what the elephant wants in the wild and how are they expanding their life, or even making their life with a source of food and water in the nature. So we have even derived a lot of other facts to maintain the captive elephants from the wild counterpart. So through that only, we calculated how much percentage of protein they need, how much percentage of fat they need, and then the carbohydrate, and what is their level of exercise. So these are all really a knowledge we gathered from the wild counterpart of these Asian elephants. So this is definitely an integral part, because so many small researches can be fine-tuned through captive animals, because we can't just separate wild from captive animals. So they are the same species, and they have some difference between the wild captivity with respect to their amount of freedom and amount of food varieties and quality of life. But other than that, the system, I mean, from a vet's point of view, the body system more or less same, except the environmental influences. So these things are really needed. And then when we're talking about the diet and nutrition, even they are evolving. As we all know that the forest cover is going down, and the quality of the forest is going down, and at the same time the farmers activities around the protected areas are changing, and most of the time the cultivating the crop is also changing a lot of developments, because they are all going for cash crops. So which is primarily like your sugarcane and other very good nutritive as well as the attractive food for these wild herbivores. So that create a lot of conflict. And as we all know that foraging herds can be very destructive, because if they go into a cropland, they spoil most of the cultivated land. I mean, though they are capable of eating one small corner of the cropland, but they would have gone around the entire field and then destroying a lot of crops. So even from the farmer's point of view, he is losing the complete livelihood if something happens after he protected that for several months, and at that time of harvesting season, if any wild animal, especially the neighboring forest wild elephants, comes and destroys the crops, then definitely he will be at a lot of pain and problem, and then economically he will be weak. So the diet and nutrition, if we can look at it clearly, that we have to support the wild animals which are all in the protected area with adequate diet and nutrition, and at the same time they are also coming out just because of these primary reasons, though there will be a lot of other issues like developments, mining, deforestation, and the human disturbances like collecting minor forest produce. But still the elephants are primarily motivated to come out or stray out of their natural habitat just because of food and water. So we have to keep that in mind. So that's also one of the hidden conservation challenge, that if we are providing or making sure the vegetation and habitat is adequate for the animal according to their number, then definitely it will at least reduce. I won't say it will make conflict nil, but at least it will be reasonably reduced. And then these are all the ways, as I said, that I mean, one of our mentor, Mr. BK Singh sir, is a former PCCF. He always says a very nice statement saying that as long as the moon and earth exist, you can't control the conflict. I mean, you can't remove or even stop the conflict. So you can only manage the conflict. So it is very true that with all of our other ambitions, like as we all know that we always say the nature is here only to provide for our need, not for greed. So such things are all known to everybody, but still nothing was on practical ground. I mean, many of us knows the problem, but only thing is we don't know how to mitigate it, starting from the self realization, because that is where I feel that we're all expecting someone to do. And as long as we are thinking someone else will do, it is not going to happen. So that's a strong notion I always have. So habitat and vegetation support, as we know that they are elephants are a part of our culture and heritage, and we respect them, and we give them complete kind of space, and then we always correlate elephant with our Ganesha, our god. So we have a lot of sentimental value also towards the species. But at the same time, when it is a conflict between the species and the livelihood of someone, and we do hear a lot of news like a lot of electrocution. There are a lot of records or even published reports and the data available that how many of them are electrocuted and how many of them are poisoned and how many of them were retaliated killing. So these are all on the front, and at the bottom of this only I could see some of those problems like poaching and other issues. I mean, removing the animal from the forest. All those things are coming at the later stage. So here, as we all know, that this 5% of land in India is under protected area. So either as national parks or sanctuaries, and we are keep declaring more and more sanctuaries. And government is really keen on protecting landscapes and then trying to establish the GPS-based perimeters of all the protected areas, so that there won't be any kind of dilemmas that a project of some kind of developments happens next to the forest or very close to the forest. And then when we are talking about this buffer area and core area, so everywhere the government is putting a lot of effort to make sure that the habitat is protected, and whatever is available at least should be retained for the existing population. So these all are interlinked, and then in that category only the elephant corridor restoration is also playing a major role. So I'll be anyway talking about a little bit about corridor restoration in my future slides, and we are talking about monoculture. So again, the habitat and vegetation support. If you are keep doing some monoculture plantation. Okay, there are several examples in several states that coffee plantation and tea estates are all very common, and then those were actually done legally. But now, at this point of time, we see a lot of animals getting into those kind of monoculture plantation areas, and then people are trampled to death, and then sometimes even the elephants are into trouble. So such kind of stuff has to be reviewed now, because those days, with a lot of other positive controls like enough habitat and the quality of habitat and the size of the habitat, all were made these things possible because those days not much conflicts were there. So people of those days were not even thought about the monoculture plantation or issues based on monoculture plantation. So that is how those things were established nicely. And then no doubt that we have derived a lot of monetary benefits. I mean, the country derived a lot of monetary benefits out of it. But now, still it is an unsolved debate that people will be blaming about this monoculture plantation. At the same time, government can't take back those 100, 200 years of MOUs, or even sometimes the lands were transferred or sold. So these are again legal entities. We can't really help with that. And as I said, these are really policy level matters. So I just wanted to throw some light on those monoculture plantation, which is also a reason for this conservation and also the conflict issues of this mega herbivore. And Karnataka alone holds the largest elephant population in India. I'm talking about wild. The state is also known for its predominant coffee cultivation. The region is witnessing increasing man-animal conflict. So this, as we know that in Karnataka, being the state where I am working currently, the largest population in this state, but at the same time, they do face a lot of human-animal conflict. So landscape level management is really important now, because I don't see major research is happening on landscape level management, because we always try to make one guideline or one rule for mitigation management. So it may not work like that. So, and every landscape, even the mitigation tools varies, and the results of the same mitigation tools gives different range of benefits in different landscapes. So that's why not only problem is based on landscape level, even the mitigation measures and the results are also based on the landscape level. So felling of monoculture plantation of acacia and then eucalyptus, teak and forest of forest patches is also keep happening, because now we all know that even the plantation areas of forest departments are all slowly revived and then replanted with other fodder trees, or even sometimes wood-based or even timber-based trees. And the monoculture slowly can be avoided, so that we can definitely see whether change of monoculture will really give any kind of results or not. So that is how, as I said, it is all landscape based management. So in one area, if it is really working good, we can't immediately extrapolate or immediately decide that, okay, removing monoculture will have 100% effect on the conservation of Asian elephant. So I don't think so that will be a generalized statement. So, and if you're talking about the research on home range and elephant corridor, so as we all know that the elephant corridors are narrow strips of land that connect two large habitats. And at this statement, I really wanted to insist that now the major conflicts in India happens in Northeast when you compare to Southern or even Western Ghats side. So that is just because it has got a working corridor. I mean, what I should say is, though there are a lot of disturbances in between the corridors, and India has 101 corridors, out of which 28 are located in South, and 25 are in Central, and 23 in Northeast India, 14 in Northwest Bengal. So when you see these corridors of 28 in South and 23 in Northeastern India, but still we have a lot of conflicts happening in Northeast than South, because the disturbance in the corridors are negligible in South. So though we do face a lot of conflicts in South India, but when you compare some of these hotspots, I think basically our team is also trying to work on the major hotspots of these elephant conflicts. So once we derive that based on data, and then definitely we can pull it and then join the other puzzles, dots, and what are all the relevant or even an additional factor, or a factor which involves this conflicts. It may be habitat, it may be the people's interference or research, or even developments, or even lack of data. So whatever it is, so we can definitely combine and synchronize what is the reason behind this conflict based on the landscape. So then when we can jog out all these details, and then definitely we can match and then mix and find out which mitigation is better in this landscape area, and which is not going to work in this landscape. So if we can just divide these issues based on landscape, we all feel that definitely there will be a good results can be expected. And when we're talking about the home range, elephant herds are known to migrate across 600 to 800 square kilometers. In the past, it was around 500 and something to 350 to 500, or maximum of 600 or something square kilometer. Now it has become 600 to 800 square kilometer annually. So that this increasingly fragmented landscape only created this extension of the home range. And now the recent one in currently West Bengal home range has increased up to 1,250 square kilometers. So whatever was established 50 years back, you can't take it as a thumb rule now, because as we always discuss and we understand that even they also evolve with people, and then whatever the different mitigation measures, for example, even a power fence, what we create, and the elephant will get away with that. It needs some time, that's all. They'll figure out how to deal with that, and then definitely they will deal with that. It's not that they're fools and we are clever. So definitely they will evolve, and we have to although at the same time we have to also progress with our measures. That's all. It's not that the world is that's the end of the world. So we will be also keep evolving, and at the same time we have to make sure the deterrent methods are animal friendly. I mean, we can't take a culling option. So in many other countries they have an option called culling. So if they feel really those animals are troublesome, they will mass kill them. So that is not at all possible here. That's why I said elephants are integral part of our social and culture areas. So we have a different kind of sentimental value, and then it's not only sentimental value, we respect. I mean, we Indians always respect any life on earth. So that way we are so sentimental people, and also we wanted to live with all these living creature around us. So that is why there is a nice word called coexistence. So we always look forward to coexist with every animal around us. So that is why we even give a snake awareness program. We always say that don't remove the snake and then put it away from 100 kilometers from your house, because you have to maintain your house. As long as your house is not maintained properly, you will definitely invite the snake, and the snake is coming to take away your pest, the so-called rat. So you can't accuse the snake, because you yourself have not treated yourself properly or your surrounding properly. So you have to take some kind of personal steps to make sure that the problem lies with you, not on the snake. So that way the home range extended in West Bengal, recent research of 1,250 square kilometer from 600 to 800, and in the past it was 350. So it was really amazing numbers. And then we should always understand their pressure, because it's not so easy for the elephant to extend from 800 square kilometer to 1,250. It's not a big playground that from one area to another area they can easily extend. There will be a lot of disturbances. The animal will be under tremendous pressure, and they are herd animals, as we all know that. Elephants are social animal, and you must have seen in YouTube and a lot of videos that some of the road crossing happens for 30-40 minutes. I mean, if you really pass the video and count, you yourself will count more than 100 elephants. So imagine a mass migration. I won't call it as migration, but in the corridor, they have to anyway migrate between their one habitat to other habitat in need of food, water, and to get rid of the environmental disturbances or temperature disturbances. So that way, extending the landscape, I mean, home range from 800 to 1,250, it's not a small thing. And at the same time, you have to understand how much the animal has to undergo pressure to walk, and then make sure that it should sustain the whole herd. So it's really a interesting fact that we should understand and make sure that they are having enough space even to expand, because even if they are willing or even decided to expand, if there is no space around the protected area, how will they expand? So that is when we always feel that the number of sighting increases automatically makes people understand or misbelieve that there are so many leopards in this forest, or there are so many elephants in this forest. So in terms of numbers, definitely you won't see a major difference. But in terms of frequent sighting, because of the habitat shrinkage, definitely it will be exponential. So if the numbers of sighting is more, you can't directly relate or correlate that with the number of animals. I mean, the individuals may not have increased, but sightings must have increased. So that's why it's important. And we are talking about corridors and the corridor sometimes is overlaps, and sometimes it's a crucial importance for both people as well as elephant, because many corridor places were disturbed, and then there are a lot of resorts, and sometimes even dabas and some private acquisitions, and different designations are there, but anyway there is a disturbance. So at the end of the day, the disturbance for the animal to cross this narrow strip of landscape is very, very important. So a corridor itself already is defined as a narrow strip. So if you're further narrowing it down or further disturbing it by human presence, then definitely we will invite conflict. So the spatial and temporal scales, as we again know very well that the mitigation strategies are primarily short term. And most of the time, if we can deal with every individual conflicts, and more than 50% of the conflicts are just shifted. Though we are working in this landscape and primarily with several forest department, the general notion will be that, okay, if this is the problem of my division, I will try to shift that to another division. So that way, we are not removing the problem, we are just shifting the problem. Then this is also very well discussed several times, several years ago. It's not a new theory I am talking about, but still, what is the solution we found for that? So do we have any proper data to make sure that the shifting of problem is really not a problem shifting? Sometimes the animal will get accommodated because it's a neighboring landscape. So is that really going to harm the animal or the people inhabitant around that area? So that needs a scientific backup, which is nothing but a early warning system through a radio collar or even a GPS collar. And I have some other slide showing how the space the satellite or something called space satellites were used for identification of a group of this thing. So that is called International Cooperation of Animal Research Using Space. Yeah, it's a small initiative, but it's an excellent initiative that if that happens, then definitely all these mass migrations can be followed. And then I think in my limited understanding that will play a major or key role in mitigating the conflict. So when we are talking about the spatial and temporal scales, the only point I would like to insist is the strategic plans at the landscape level that directly address underlying anthropogenic drivers and their spatio-temporal variation. So that is why this can't be generalized in every location. And as I already told several times, that the strategic plans should be at the landscape level. So only then the spatial and temporal scales can be properly understood and the mitigation will be effective. As we all know that the general, regular, known challenges for these Asian elephant conservations or road kills, that either a rail accident or road accident, because they have to cross roads and we don't have any extraordinary system or even style or even method of making the animal crossing the highways, because as we all know that when we are talking about the development or even a new railway lines or factories or hydroelectric projects, the development always wins. I mean, the losers are always wildlife. So that is when we feel that the word called greedy and need-based, all those things has to be revoked, because we know that the statements are very well existing and every small kid understand that. But understanding is not important here. How will we implement it? So that is where we are lacking. Strongly, we are lacking that only. So when we think that, oh, this is the village, we really need to travel through a train, it will be the cheaper mode of commute. At the same time, if there is something, a natural resource that can be exploited for human benefits, then automatically some railroads are installed, and then without taking the implementation of the habitat or the habitat usage by the native animals. And during this slide only, I just want to talk about the EIA. So EIA, now everyone knows that we are having a lot of revision in that. EIA is environmental impact assessment. So it's a known fact scientifically that if there is any new project comes, there should be an EIA done properly, and then make sure that the project does not make the habitat vulnerable to any of those native animals, or it is going to create a devastation in that area in terms of flora and fauna. And at the same time, it should be beneficial for the humankind. So it should be balanced. So that is where we always lose, and that is where this greedy takes upper hand. When we think that, oh, we have a natural resources, or we have enough wealth there, and then we'll have to transport it. So if you are really wanted to do the conservation as well as the exploitation of the natural resources, and then do airlifting. So do whatever is very impossible to do, make it possible. And then if you think it is not possible or it is not economical, then postpone it or make some other alternative arrangement for these native animals. Because just by talking conservation of elephants on Conservation Day is not going to conserve the elephant. So we have to make sure that it has to be a combined effect, and then our individual understanding should be good. And if you know that it's a elephant crossing area, or a bear crossing area, or a leopard crossing area, if there is a signage saying that, given by or placed by Forest Department, please respect that. So that is where we will be participating in the conservation. It is not about talking about policies and we think that, oh, the airline was a big mistake or a foolish move by the government. We have no rights to talk about that until or unless you respect the board in front of your railway line, or in front of your highway, saying that it's a common leopard crossing area, but still you want to run with your car in 100 kilometers per hour, then you have no rights to talk about these things. So that is where the self-discipline starts. So kindly make sure that you are doing the change. You are making the change. Don't expect others to change. So please start the change within you, and then it is possible. If you know that you are every day traveling through this highway where the elephants are commonly used to cross, you know that your vehicle is really a double X SUV, that you are not going to get killed by the elephant, but you will definitely or potentially going to harm the elephant if you are hitting the elephant. So what is wrong in that? If you know that this is what going to happen, if I hit it, I am not going to die, but the elephant will break the limb, then take your journey 10 minutes before. Don't rush. At least respect that part of the road. And I am still now proud that in Karnataka, we have the road blockage system after 6 until morning 6. So if that can be extrapolated in many other roadways or highways where the Forest Department can install that, we should respect it. They are a group of people meant to do the forest and conservation activities. It's not only them they can do it, because it's all interdisciplinary activity. If they are blocking the road, immediately the road making department or the highway department will see the Forest Department as a big enemies. And if we support the railway or even the highway department, definitely it will be an additional strength for the highway department to fight against the forest department. So where are we now giving our support? To the conservation side or to the development side? So everyone has to keep that in mind to make sure that if you are not, I always tell all the kids that you don't need to good for the wildlife. You please don't do harm for them. They know how to live. So as I said, they also evolved. Before us, they were in the planet. We all know that. So they are highly evolved animal. Only thing is we exploit and then we try to extract so many things from the natural resources, but they don't do that. That is the only difference. Till now, we are thinking that we are the super human being and we enjoyed all the developments, all the technologies, nobody else in the earth or on there. Even this generation, I am saying, we are really lucky that we have got all the advanced technological developments in front of us. But do you think the elephant can understand that? Do you think elephant can get any kind of advantage out of your gadgets and your technological development? Or at least use your technology to protect them. Do some early warning system. It can be beyond our expectation, but still we can make an attempt. Nothing wrong in it. And then if someone starts doing it, then definitely it will get evolved and then better solutions will come. And definitely we will save these animals. It is all like combined and one approach. I mean, one attitude approach. I mean, we all should fight for that. I'm not saying fight in the sense we'll have to immediately go and block the road and then start lifting a flag saying that, oh, we are all shouting or we are all creating dharna for elephants. No. It has to be an individual attempt, individual participation. So human death versus elephant death, there are multiple data available, and you can see the blue stuffs are elephant death and the orange stuff is a human death. And human death is really 1713 and elephant death was 2/3 of it, or probably even 1/5 of that, so 373. So you can see the key causes of elephant death is electrocution and train accident, poaching, poisoning, and the elephant attacks people also. So that is where in these three major categories, all these 373 are belonging. So electrocution, train accident, poaching, poisoning. So in all these areas, we have to do a hardcore research or even trying to explore the possibilities of how can we avoid electrocution. So if it is an intentional electrocution, it is okay. It is a human problem or a man-made problem, or it may be a retaliation of a farmer or someone has lost their family or life or house or even their land or even a crop, then it comes under retaliation. So we will have very negligible amount of progress in that kind of categories. But other than that, electrocution, I'm sure that we have a very good example in Karnataka that there was a recent government order was saying that wherever the sagging of wire lines are there, it has to be corrected by the electric department, EB department, and at the same time the poles for the electric wires were lifted to another few feet. So that's a very good initiative, and it is a doable job. It is not that we need some other countries' resources to do such a tiny change in the existing activity, and that gives a lot of benefits to the poor elephants living in that landscape. So such small things will definitely make a major difference. But only thing is somebody has to put their head, put their effort, put their energy, and put their resources into it. So that is where we are all lagging. So and such kind of things has to be generalized. I mean, we can very well start implementing such stuffs wherever there are a lot of high tension wires sagging very close to the earth. But I mean, in the sense not a threat for the people, but for animals, such a giant animal. If they just lift their trunk, then they can reach several meters above them. So that puts them in a kind of trouble that the high tension electric wires are really detrimental to these elephants. But as we all know that no wild animal is going to get benefit out of electricity. It's only human beings. So we made benefit. So we have to we are responsible for mitigating the problem caused by that benefit what we have created. So it's our responsibility. We created electric wires, then you have only got the ability to counteract the electrocution problems also. The train accident, as I said, we created for our benefit. So at the same time, create some benefits for them also. If you can make any underpass or overpass, whatever it is, which is possible, doable and economical, and then make sure that we will be trying at least, and then make sure that it can be extrapolated in other places if it is successful. And poaching, as we all know, that it's still happening, and primarily because of this retaliation, or maybe even for tusk or human habitat destruction, or even sometimes the crop destruction. So something like that. Poaching is not only for tusk, even whatever the killing happens to safeguard the family, or even to safeguard or to protect the humankind, it's all comes under poaching only. So poaching is also a reason for the conservation challenge. Poisoning, again, as we say, that retaliation. And then being a vet, sometimes we feel that poisoning nowadays, even in post-mortem reports we are getting, some of these animals are poisoned to death. So here again, as a vet, I have some doubt all the time, because we even discussed with other wildlife vets. They were also all under the same opinion that nowadays many lonely tuskers, or even sometimes bachelor herds, are habitual crop raiders. And as we all know that nowadays the agriculture, or even cropping field, always have one or other pesticides or weedicides or whatever it is. So some amount of pesticide or any chemical detrimental to human health, or even animals' health, is always present in the agricultural food items. And when these habitual crop raiders eat some of those areas, I mean food items, in smaller quantity for a long time, or even higher quantity even in the cropping season, most of the time their gut content comes positive as organophosphorus compound, or whatever it is, based on the pesticide or weedicide the agriculturist used, will definitely reflect on their content in their stomach, or even in the intestine, because they are colon fermenting animals. Because they're simple stomach animal, and they use their hind gut, which is colon, for maximum absorption of nutrient, and also the fermentation happens a lot in their colon. So that is why when they get into stomach ache, it is called colic. So these animals were identified as poisoned and dead. So that is where we are having some trouble. That is that really a poisonous based mortality, because until or unless we know the lethal dose of the poison, it's very difficult for us to declare that the animal has died due to poisoning, because the content of the stomach will always have some or other chemical, whichever they have consumed through the fodder, or even food items. And not much of organic agriculture is happening nowadays. So it's all chemical based, and at the same time, these all poisons were detected as a qualitative method. So that means the test shows, yes, this particular ingesta, or even the gut content, has got the presence of this poison, not the quantity. So that's why it's not a quality, it's not a quantity or quantitative detection. It's all qualitative detection. So that's why it's very important for us to understand this poisoning has to be studied properly, and at least we can avoid doing any poisoning cases if it is at least happening on intentional ground, because many large cats, I mean big cats like leopards and tigers were killed if they poach any of the livestock of the farmers living in and around the forest. So out of retaliation, they used to poison their kill. And as you know, that the leopard and tiger will come back and then consume the meat even after 2-3 days. So in that process, they consume and they sometimes lose their life. So this forest, minor forest produce of this maua flower and then stendupata. So different state has got a different economy level based on their primary cash crops, or sometimes the major budget comes from that particular I mean the major revenue comes from that particular activity. So especially in Chhattisgarh, the people are facing a lot of wild elephant conflict, because they are majorly depending on this maua to make a country liquor. Sorry. So, and also they go and then collect this tendupata, which is used for rolling BDs. So these things are the state's major revenue, but at the same time, there are regulations. So when such things are happening, and then these neighboring villages of these protected areas, when the animal raids, and then sometimes even they stored the barrel of fermented maua flowers, and then the elephants will always look into such kind of fermented taste and then smell, and they I mean to access those drums and other stuff, they push the entire wall, because in the village areas they may not even have resources to build pakka houses. So it will be all kacha, and then it's all mud houses, and then they push, and the entire wall fell onto a family, and husband, wife, kids, all gets killed together. So it's again a mitigatable problem, because if they know that the elephant will get attracted with a drum of fermented mawa flour or something, what is the need to store it inside the house? And then if they know that it's very difficult, and I think the forest department has now really come up with a nice solution that's a common place, or even a kind of gadon or a warehouse that they can keep all these drums, so that nothing will happen to the family, and their livelihood also will be saved. So such kind of mitigation measures, it has to be species specific as well as the region specific. So that is why these are all coming under the landscape based management. So that is what we are keep talking about. So this conflict is always a price of development, and the government is also compensating each and every loss in case of a human death, and in case of properties, in case of their body, or if they are getting disabled. Every state has got a different compensation stuff. Actually, Karnataka TLS. So this compensation again depends on the state's discretion, and in Tamil Nadu they are giving 5 lakhs for human death, and in Chhattisgarh they are giving 6 lakhs, and in Maharashtra it is 15 lakhs. So it is actually different according to the state, and it is state specific. I mean, no one else will come and then compare and then start asking for the difference of the money. So those things will definitely a good proof for us that it is based on the individual state and based on the individual landscapes problem and the humans problem. So it is not that like in Maharashtra, every other state is giving 15 lakhs. So it is not a common stuff. Until or unless if somebody is making a crime with wildlife, then there are 25,000 rupees fine and then 7 years of imprisonment as per the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. So those things are national level policies that the individual province or state will definitely implement. But with respect to the conflict mitigation and also this compensation, it actually varies, and then even different mechanisms or the hierarchies are followed in different states. So that way, the individual state will make sure the money reaches to the victim. So that way, it is the individual state's responsibility to make sure that the compensation were adequate, and people should be convinced in order to protect the wildlife. So compensation, again, as I already told, it varies, and it is also keep moving towards the other side, because based on the inflation and the normal economy of the state, they have to keep revising it. Otherwise, it will have a bad impact on the wildlife living around that place. So that is why it is mandatory for the provincial government to make sure that the people are not taking revenge against their wildlife. So that way, it will be an important component of conflict mitigation. And apart from this, we know that crop raiding, cattle grazing, forest fire, and then minor forest produce collections are all state-specific issues. And then you can see a herd of elephant came into a paddy field and then started eating happily, and people were in the next field and then happily taking selfies. So these all things has to be kept in mind, and then make sure that if there is any accidental killing, automatically the toll goes up. When I said few slides before that 1,700 odd people were killed, and then only 300 elephants were killed. So I used to see these numbers directly related to their brain. Whoever is clever, definitely they will not lose their life. Whoever is fool, they always lose their life. So you can see a bunch of fools here standing next to the herd of elephant, not bothered about the behavior of the animal, and not even trying to drive the elephant or something. They all wanted to take selfies, and they all wanted to go close to the animal. And you can see many YouTube videos that people are taking. I mean, a person was taking selfie and the animal was chasing and then killed him in front in the same video. So people are like that. And after consuming liquor or under the influence of alcohol, people were trying to stop the elephant just by showing some signals and then expecting the animal to stop, and then he got trampled. So such kind of fools only adding up the score. Even in Corona situation, everybody is very keen on seeing the score on daily basis. What is the infection rate? What is the death rate? So the number sometimes influences people, but we should not bother, including Corona. I mean, as a vet, I am saying that we should not take away or we should not go by the numbers, because when you see, I mean, there are good and bad repercussion of those numbers. If you see a lot of numbers on daily newspapers, you always think that anyway, Corona is to my neighbor house, so what will I do? So I don't bother about wearing mask. I don't bother about sanitizing my hand, and then you will be very relaxed and then go around. But that's a foolish mistake one can do. I mean, the government has put a lot of efforts to make you aware that as long as you follow the social distance and then make sure that you are wearing mask and don't touch unnecessarily other things, even your own face and nostrils and mouth, and then wear some goggles or something to protect your eyes, because Corona is also now understood that it can even pass through air. So if you are aware of those facts, then still you're overconfident, or you give up, saying that, oh, corona has come to my neighbor's house, so it is hardly few meters for corona to come to my or step into my house. Then you are the loser, you are the fool, so no doubt in it. So that way, here the score sometimes uh, make the animal viewed very badly by the public. So it is absolutely wrong. So the numbers, as I said, is because of many people which are lost their mind and then do all these kind of nonsense and get killed accidentally. And finally, the animals are getting blamed. And some of the monoculture stories you can see on the right bottom, you can see some animals are in the estate, and then it's a herd. So keeping them away from the landscape is very difficult. So as you all know that they are long living animals, they have long lifespan. So even if you're taking it as on an average side is 60 to 70 years. So you imagine the 70-year-old elephant in the same herd, and the youngest one will be probably few months. So the few month older calf knows that this is my grandma's place. We always come here only to eat. This is where I get my food. This is where I am comfortable. This is where my entire family lives. This is where I drink my water. So how can you erase that for next 55 years or 65 years? So that is where even this conflict summit is nowadays taking up a new version or new angle, because if someone has really got into a human habitat, and then even the herd gets expanding, and then in the sense they are keep the elderly females or even a prime females in the herd are keep getting pregnant, and they are parturiting, and then the young one born in that landscape imagines or thinks that this is my hometown. So erasing that is maybe difficult. I mean, if it is a small migratory path, or if it is only during the travel time, if the birth happens, probably they would have evacuated from that place. The young one may not have registered that place. But now, with all these kind of growing population and the people, I mean, the elephant moves from one landscape to other landscape and settles. Definitely, the young one settles there, will write their landscape or register the land in their mind very clearly. So that is how some of these areas we need to really pay attention, and then take some kind of long term data to prove or disprove this hypothesis. And disease, I mean, being a vet, I have to talk about the disease, because the conservation challenge includes the diseases, whether it is a endemic disease or epidemics or even pandemics. So all these problems will definitely a big challenge for the disease. But at the same time, I would like to reiterate that disease is a kind of natural selection process. So any free living animal has to go through the problem of disease, and that is how the balance of the individual has to be kept. So as long as we are not introducing any problem to them, then I think the disease is not a major concern. But still, EEHV, elephant endotheliotrophic herpes virus, anthrax, tetanus, and systemic mycosis is again all newly evolved. I mean, new in the sense in the past few decades. So these were all diagnosed in captivity for long back, but even we are encountering such problems in the wild as well. So that is again an interesting information. But at the same time, it is not shocking news, because they start using our landscape, or our landscape is extended till the elephant habitat. So whatever is our livestock's grazing there, or even, as I said, this cattle grazing in other place, so they overlap the place, and then they contaminate the virgin habitats. Then automatically what happens, these animals in the wild or free living animals are prone to infect with all these livestock diseases. And sometimes they have to lose their life and even contaminate other individuals. And I just wanted to talk about this Kerala elephant incident. It was actually a very big issue. We were all very sensitive towards that problem, and then we all know also that some explosive has burnt in their in her mouth, and then she was pregnant. So that all those things are really, I mean, unacceptable. But at the same time, not every such issues are coming to limelight. So we have to keep that in mind. And at the same time, if you see the bottom of this information, that it is again man-made issue. It is not that some other elephants were trying to create some crackers to celebrate Diwali, and then this particular unknown elephant has stepped onto it and then got injured. Nothing. So it's again a man-made issue, and then we either wanted to do it intentionally or unintentionally. It's our responsibility. So at the end of the day, it has to be viewed seriously. But thanks to Kerala Forest Department and the government, that they have accused 3 people, and they have got arrested. And then let us see how the case progress. Coming to Tamil Nadu elephant incident, it was all over the media that 13 elephants death in 7 months, but officials attribute fatalities to sickness and infighting. It is not a major deal, and I mean, we all agree with that, not an issue. But what being a vet, what I would like to point out here is every death has to go through a set of standard operating procedure that starts with postmortem, so that it's again a responsibility of the vet. I'll take the blame. So a vet has to conduct a sincere postmortem and make sure the cause of death was at least find or attempted to find through adequate samplings. Samples should be distributed to a respective laboratories, and make sure that the death was concluded due to some reason or cause. Only then the cause of death makes a very major difference in the data collection, and then based on that we can at least understand whether it is an accepted number of mortality or not, or if there is some unusual mortality happens. If you miss to diagnose such things, it may get into a major disaster. So it's very important for us. And then this 13 elephant death, it was very well evident that there are multiple natural causes, except this Metropolium case of 2 farmers gunned down a crop-rated bull. So other than that, it was a regular news. And as we all know that in Botswana, more than 350 elephants died, and then till now not much conclusive evidence happened, but they were suspecting that it's a cyanobacterial poisoning. It's a toxin in water, because mass animal kill most of the time won't happen due to human error. It must be something to do with nature, or something like a major contaminant got into a water, or some disease problem, or a new emerging virus like your COVID-19 or some other viruses, because here they found a lot of neurological disturbances. So still researchers are trying to find out the cause of the death. So cause of death is very important. At the same time, some kind of mass extinction by the nature through any other means are possible. So that is why we should give only scope for that nature's issues. We should not create and top up the issue with a lot of man-made problems. So conflict mitigation, as we all know that we have so many conflict mitigation measures, and the important 2 things is collaring and early warning system. Apart from that, a lot of traditional stuff like electric fence barriers, ditches, moat walls, and alternate crops are very important, so that the farmer's livelihood also be saved. At the same time, the elephant will not get encouraged to come out of the protected area or natural habitat. And rail barricades nowadays are really effective. I mean, out of so many traditional stuffs, the recent innovation of rail barricades are really good as of now, because as I said, elephants also will evolve with their own ideas, and they will also try to get away with whatever the innovative ideas we come up with. So in Bandipur, it was very proven. And as we all know that every mitigation measures in terms of barricade needs constant maintenance. So it's not only for the elephant side that they will be pushing the mud and then trying to make a small canal and with a small bridge and they will cross. Even people make the same mistake of pushing mud into it so that they can graze their cattle. So both the way there are mistakes, but we can't hang around with the mistakes. We should be maintaining the pit or even the trench so that it will be a useful mitigation measure, because not only that, even the environmental reasons, like even a big wind flow or a rainy season will corrode the mud around the channel and then fill the channel. So we have to constantly maintain it. So that's a major key word in all mitigation measures. You can see a lot of steel wires or even normal wire fencing, solar power fenced fencing, and you can we have got some witnesses even on the rail track elephants were crossing. So there are some exceptional cases will be always there, so but we should not give up with the idea. So we should make sure that the maintenance is happening so that there won't be any mishaps, because there are cases that a female elephant got stuck at the bottom of the second railing rod, and then she got stuck and then passed away. So there are some incidents, because in case if they left the female inside or a part of the herd is inside, the part of the herd is outside, they have to come back, they have to reunite. So such things has to be kept in mind before we install or close the final area of opening. So such things are very important. And tentacle fencing is again one of the recent development in and around Osur division in Krishnagiri division. The forest department has successfully installed, and they were finding it's really good. And as I said, human behavior and animal behavior needs to be balanced, because many a times, as I said, you can see on the left top photo, they were really giving the pose very nicely for the photograph. I hope that's not their last pose. I hope they are still alive. But such kind of things should not be done, and then we should start respecting. And you can see on the bottom right corner, people are throwing fireballs on the animal. So how cruel it is. I mean, they're already crossing the road. So such things are very common. Some of the state people are really different from other state people. So it's again state specific. So you have to deal with those state minds according to their activities, according to their aggressiveness, according to their respect to the species. So it varies. So it has to be location specific, and make sure that they are understanding the importance of the species, and not to make such kind of barbaric activities, which will also increase the conflict. If they lose their calf or if they lose their leg, then definitely it increases conflict. So as I said, human behavior and animal behavior is definitely two different things. I always want to say that we can easily predict the animal behavior. Animal behavior always stick on to two important words. One is fight, the other one is flight. So fight or flight response, everybody knows. But can you say at least 10 words if you want to describe human behavior? Absolutely no. You can't say. Maybe someone will come up with 50, someone will come up with 60, 70. The number will not be even concluded. At your widest imagination also, you will not describe human behavior. But animal behaviors are very simple. I can give you in writing animals can only behave in two ways. One is fight, the other one is flight. If they want to run away from that problem or place, they will definitely run away. If you are cornering them, they will get rid of you and then go. That reason they have to kill you. So that's too simple version of explaining human and animal behavior. So there are a lot of other deterrents like acoustic deterrents that elephants are long lived, as I already told. Their survival depends upon regular migration over large distances to search of food, water, and social and reproductive partners. As generalist mega herbivore, meeting these basic needs requires a large home range size of 100 to 1000 square kilometers. So this actually it's about the need and the home range. I think I wrongly put the title called acoustic deterrent, but there are acoustic deterrents available. People have started with bee sound or even drone sounds, but still the elephant can train for all those stuffs, and they become used to that sounds. And this ICRUS, the recent newspaper article, one of my friend has shared this with me. I found it's very interesting, and it's definitely going to be a good tool to do this international cooperation for animal research using space. So I don't have a complete information about that, but this is how the science is also keep improving and involving the technologies in wildlife conservation. So these are some of the success stories. With NCF, in collaboration with Karnataka Forest Department, started bulk SMS and voice call alert for people who registered for it on a daily basis. It's a very well proven success story. I mean, about 30,000 people are getting warning about elephant presence, and they are become alert. An early warning system that helps in preventing human-elephant conflict and crop damage in Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve is also a very good approach and the success story. A research team from Bannari Amman Institute of Technology, Satyamangalam, had designed the smart fence for early elephant warning. It was recently installed in Ammapalayam village on the Bhavani Sagar Metropolitan Highway, where elephants frequently cross the road. So this is the research team discussing about that. And this awareness program was very well structured, especially in the state of Chhattisgarh. And they have got multiple varieties of stages. I mean, like the forest officials, wildlife experts, affected people, tribal people, and Akashwani. So they involve a lot of stakeholders, and then you can see the people involved in it, and then the hierarchy followed within the individual sector. And then it was actually done through district level representatives, WhatsApp groups, radio program, broadcast, print media, folk artist, trainings, AV presentations, awareness in school and video villages, wildlife protection week, volunteers for primary response team. All will get this information through several means and several forms, so that the entire village is really alert, and they are actually making a daily announcement on the radio called Hamar Hathi Hamar Goth.
नमस्कार, विश्व हाथी दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाओं के साथ मैं अमलेंदु मिश्र स्वागत है हमर हाथी हमर गोठ कार्यक्रम में। साथियों, हाथियों का विचरण हमारे आसपास के वन क्षेत्रों में लगातार बना हुआ है। हाथी बहुत ही संवेदनशील वन्य जीव है। ये किसी भी तरह की दखलंदाजी या मानवीय हस्तक्षेप से आक्रोशित होते हैं और अपना रास्ता बदल देते हैं। आइए जानते हैं हाथियों के आज के विचरण क्षेत्रों के बारे में। सरगुजा वनवृत्त के गुरु घासीदास राष्ट्रीय उद्यान, कोरिया एवं सरगुजा वन मंडल में आज हाथियों का विचरण नहीं है। एलिफेंट रिजर्व सरगुजा के तमोर पिंगला और बादल खोल अभयारण्य में हाथियों की कुल संख्या 47 है। ये खोर, केसर, टमकी, मसनकी, पुतकी, धोरिया, बरपटिया, भेलकक्ष, दुर्गई, अर्चु।
So I'm just passing this audio because I just wanted to give you the idea that what kind of announcement is happening. So it's a wonderful initiative by the Chhattisgarh Forest Department. It is very well working on the ground. So such things are really very innovative, and then it is not only one single approach, it's multiple approach that, as I said here, so many varieties of informations and through varieties of platforms, starting from your WhatsApp to message to this Akashwani and the tribal people, teachers, farmers, press media. I mean, the entire table, if you can just read out leisurely, you will understand what a meticulous step the forest department has taken. So thanks to the Chief Wildlife Warden and Dr. A.K. Singh sir and Bisain sir for taking this very proactively and then installed this very nicely, and then it is working. So the other alerting systems for the other means is like they have five different WhatsApp groups for different sectors like stakeholders, forest department, security forces, administrative departments, and the local communities. So no one will be missed getting this information, and at the same time there will be some difference of the depth of the information between these groups. So that way it will be easier for them to make sure that what information is given to the village level people and the forest department or security forces, so that the information of the elephant location will be transparent to everyone, but at the same time alerting respective department is based on the actual location of the elephant. And then community engagement. So not only for talking about the conflicts and then how can they mitigate and what kind of precautions they can take and these kind of announcement to them. So all those things really need the community participation. And apart from that, there are success stories of community-based power fence maintenances. That too, only at the time of the responsibility to the community, and they have taken up very nicely and personally to make sure that their things are very well maintained, and the do's and don'ts and wall painting about those stuffs are also written. Here you can see what to do, what not to do, written in the local language is always beneficial for those people. And then seed ball preparations so that they can create a lot of seed balls, throw, and then make a lot of plantation and forestation and interacting and exploring about the animal behavior. So especially where we are currently having a project in the state of Chhattisgarh, and those people are recently encountering these animals in their life. So they don't know even how to behave with elephants. That is when you can see people are really going in front of the elephant to make or to click a selfie picture. So that is where when they were made aware about the behavior of the elephant, automatically it alerts them that they should not do such nonsense. So the community engagement and participation is really important. And then monitoring the study group is also very important, because though they are in a independent area and then not bothered or not troubling the human area, but still observing them or monitoring them on a daily basis or even as frequently as possible is really important. So that is where the base data are getting built, and then make sure that if there is some elephant in the herd is missing, or any bulls are really joined the group recently, or if somebody has deviated from the group. So all those things are very important. So the monitoring the group is really, really important, because monitoring individual elephant, the tuskers or lonely tuskers are easier than monitoring the herd. So group monitoring is really important and mandatory. And then some of those stuffs we have even done through drone videos, because as we all know that drones were some part of time used to deterrent elephants, but now whatever the drone used here was to completely observe the group activity. And as you can very well observe here, that the drone is not at all making them bothered, because they were all very calm, and they will be start throwing mud on them. They're taking dust bath, and then grazing. So all those stuffs are really very normal. You can see the tiniest one to the biggest one in the herd is undisturbed because of drone. So on some of these watchtowers also act as a very good observation point to collect data, though it is a very primitive or ancient or traditional way of observing elephant, but still it is very successful. And then the structures have become very strong nowadays, and it is more camouflaged. You can see on the picture. So it's all more better designs, but still the watchtowers always have its own advantage to monitor the elephant. And as we all know that we have 32 elephant reserves in India. The very first elephant reserve or elephant sanctuary was the Singban Elephant Reserve of Jharkhand. So Project Elephant makes keep monitoring the elephant reserves, and then keeping an eye on the habitat in terms of encroachment or whatever the development happens. So it is very strict, and then highly protected. So Project Elephant is actually serving a lot for elephant conservation. So that's one of the primary agency that look after all these conservation of these Indian elephants, and they've got the beautiful objectives of welfare of domesticated elephants, and protection of elephants, their habitat in elephant corridors, and mitigation and prevention of human-elephant conflict. So the aim of the Project Elephant is also that scientific and plant management strategies prevent illegal trade of ivory, unnatural cause of elephant deaths, and ecological restoration, mitigate and prevent the increasing conflict grazing, livestock grazing, reduce and remove domestic livestock grazing and the pressure of humans and their activities and the important elephant habitat, and promote scientific research. So almost the aim of the Project Elephant covers the entire conservation aspect of the stuff, and they do have a program called MIKE, which is Monitoring of Illegal Killing of Elephants program, was started in South Asia in 2003 after the conference of parties resolution of CITES. The aim of MIKE was to provide information required by the elephant range countries for proper management and long-term protection of their elephant for their population. The objective of the MIKE is to measure the level and trends of the illegal poaching and ensure changes in the trends for elephant protection, to determine the factors responsible for such changes, and to assess the impact of decisions by the conference of parties to CITES. So there are campaign Hathi Mera Sati, the Ministry of Environment and Forest in participation with Wildlife Trust of India has launched the campaign. Aim of the campaign was to increase public awareness and develop friendship between elephant and local population. This is what was done in Chhattisgarh also. So such things can be extrapolated and then customized based on the state's requirement. The campaign was launched in Delhi, ministerial meeting, Elephant 8 ministerial meeting. The countries that are part of the Elephant 8 ministerial meeting are Kenya, Sri Lanka, Botswana, Republic of Congo, Tanzania, Indonesia, Thailand, and India. So the elephant project elephant is having a division called Elephant Task Force. The increased tension due to a rampant retaliatory killing of elephants and human-elephant conflict prompted the government to set up the Elephant Task Force along the lines of the Tiger Task Force. The force of the Elephant Task Force to bring pragmatic solution for the conservation of elephants in the long term. The Elephant Task Force was headed by the wildlife historian and political analyst Dr. Mahesh Rangarajan, and other members included were conservation and animal welfare activists, elephant biologist, and a veterinarian. So India has around 25 to 29,000 elephants in the wild. Over the tuskers male in India are threatened as the tigers. There are only around 1,200 tuskers left in the country. So elephant poaching is also one of the major challenge in the conservation of elephants, as I already mentioned, with a 25,000 fine and 7 years of imprisonment as per the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. It is brought down to a major extent, and based on this legal protection, the anti-poaching camps were developed, and then from 2000, poaching has been minimized in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, which includes Bandipur, Mudumalai, and Nagarhole. It's almost a nil now. So the Aralam Wayanad Satyamangalam Wildlife Sanctuary is due to anti-poaching strategies. So the strategy is nothing but wherever there are major poachers. I mean, those areas. I mean, in that right side map, you can see the round marks where the major poachers were identified. So on those areas, management, I mean, the forest department has created an anti-poaching unit. So this anti-poaching unit strategically placed in those areas were really having a major impact. And as we all know that if we can take the community into the participation side, definitely they will realize their mistake, and if there is any alternative livelihood or something has to be given, or some of the anti-poaching watchers were employed from the community, then automatically it will become a win-win situation. The people in the elephant camp or anti-poaching camp will definitely know if there is any untoward thing is going to happen or planned. So in that way, it'll definitely have a major positive benefits than negative benefits. The role of various stakeholders during human-elephant conflict, as I said, it's a kind of interdisciplinary and also involves multiple stakeholders and departments like district administration. They are involved in evacuation and rehabilitation of people if they are in the protected area, and police department when it comes to crowd control management. They are the key people to do that. And agricultural and horticultural department evaluate crop loss and provide crop damage applications, advise alternative crops. And the Sarpanch, Sachiv, Gram Panchayat and Kotwars coordination and public awareness ground they will be helping. Government, hospitals, doctors, and health department also are important if you really want to conserve the Asian elephants. And veterinary and poultry department, as I said, veterinarians should definitely be a part of the conservation in terms of disease management and health management. Also, the recently developing One Health concept includes the host and the environment and the disease. So if we have got a better understanding of all these three, then definitely the One Health will be achieved. And even as I said, the starting from the post-mortem to the level of disease prevention, the veterinarians plays a major role. And non-governmental organization, we being a non-governmental organization, we also have active participation with several state forest department, and we are allowed to do a lot of conservation-based activities and research and field projects. So it's always a combined effect of multiple stakeholders. Volunteers, trackers, elephant Matridal, electricity board, as we said, the high tension wires needs to be reviewed, and irrigation department, allied agricultural department, and native consultants and researchers, because they know much about their landscape, and they know they know the history behind the entire changes, or even people's mentality, or even change in their behavior. So with this, I would like to conclude, and thanks once again for all of you to quietly listening to my talk. And